Hello and welcome to Boxing News Flashback. This time we go back to 1978, 35 years ago. And on the front, there's John L. Gardner, who had just claimed the British and Commonwealth heavyweight titles. And he was the first British heavyweight champion for 18 months. And he beat Billy Aird, who announced his retirement after being stopped in 5 rounds. It all started so differently for Aird when he dropped Gardner within the first minute of the bout. But things quickly changed and the relentless Gardner forced a stoppage in the 5th. Gardner went on. He had a decent enough career, and there was a time where he was mixing with some world-class guys. Jimmy Young he lost to about a year later. He did beat Ozzy Ocasio, and then there was some talk of him fighting for a world title in 1981. But then in summer of that year, he was knocked out quite convincingly by Michael Dokes, and that more or less was the end of the line for JLG. Okay, we move on, and there's a little interesting snippet here. Tony Simpson, of course, who would go on to become one of the most popular middleweight fighters the country's ever produced, was upset by Manchester's Eddie Smith over 8 threes. And the report here by Tim Moe says, even though he'd scored for Simpson, he felt that he hadn't deserved it. Simpson would go on, of course, to fight the likes of Marvin Hagler, Frank Tate, Dennis Andrews for world titles, but he would come up short each time. Something else that grabbed the attention this week is something else. Charlie Maygree, future champion again. Jim Watson here, another future world champion. Was quite a good, productive time for British boxing. But something that caught my eye towards the back here, Duran at light middleweight. It is not unusual for world champions to relax and put on a bit of weight, but I think Roberto Duran was taking things a bit far by coming in at light middleweight when flattening Nicaraguan in 2 rounds. Well, he didn't fight at lightweight again. He was lightweight world champion at this time. He relinquished that crown, but 6 months later, what he did do, he did lose weight, and he got down and he beat Sugar Ray Leonard in arguably the best performance of the great fighter's career, Roberto Duran. But interestingly, at light middleweight, he did reappear, of course, in 1983, flattening Davey Moore to win the world title. And even more astonishing still, 6 years after that, 1989, he beat Iran Barkley, rolled back the years to blunt the blade and win the world middleweight title. Duran went on and on and on, growing in weight. Sometimes he'd lose it. But it was a fantastic career, and at this point in time, we should not have been concerned about the weight of Roberto Duran. That'll do it for this week. That was Boxing News Flashback for October 27, 1978.